I just have to start talking, and hopefully what comes out is actually good and makes sense. The hardest thing about learning a new skill, it's not the technical stuff. I'm gonna tell you right now. It's the tedious, boring little things that you have to do to practice and to eventually get to do the fun stuff. And I don't want that. I want to push past my limits.
Push past your limits.
I turned this sad, boring little sphere into this amazing concept by Patrick Gagnas. He did a Draw This in Your Style challenge on Instagram to celebrate a milestone that he reached, and it's a character that he designed called Ignis. Jinn are some of my favorite characters and creatures from mythology. They hold a special place in my heart. I grew up with Aladdin, Arabian Nights, all of those different stories where Jinn are there and it's in the desert and you get wishes. Now I get to give this sphere its wish of not being a sad little sphere and turning into this amazing character. So I'm gonna show you how I take on a project like this that might be above my skill level, and I don't freak out and get overwhelmed, hopefully. So the secret to approaching a project like this is breaking it down into a process. And it's the same with anything you do, whether you're baking a cake or whatever. You don't throw the ingredients in a bowl and call it a cake. I broke up this process into 5 different steps, and we're gonna start off with the first one, and it's the most important one, and it's the study stage. During the study stage, you're laying down the foundation for the rest of the project. This is where you actually get to understand what you're trying to accomplish. And for Ignis, I took the concept that Patrick did, I put it in Procreate, and started breaking the character down into all its different parts and pieces. I started breaking his anatomy down just so I could have a clear understanding of how I was going to add those shapes in 3-dimensional space. This is super important. It does inform the rest of your steps. And when I used to paint a lot and draw a lot, I did studies of figures, of lighting, of composition, all of these different things. So very important stage, lays the foundation for the rest of the project. So don't rush it. It's worth taking the time to do it right from the beginning. Now that I'm done with the study stage, I start the blockout stage. And this stage is super cool. It's like sketching, but in 3D. It's where you lay out your big shapes, your big forms. You're making sure that your anatomy is correct, that your proportions are correct, all those things that you're gonna build the rest of your forms on top of, you gotta take care of here. For Ignis, this was super easy, super fun, because I did the work in the study stage, and it makes it a lot easier. Like I told you, super easy. Now that I'm done blocking him out, all of the proportions are looking good, all of the parts are in the right place, I start the refinement stage. In the refinement stage, I'm making sure I lay down the edges and the planes that I really want, making sure that I have hard edges where I want hard edges, soft edges where I want soft edges, and that all of them kind of flow well into each other. You see it here in the hand the most. I combine all the sections that make up the fingers. I'm really refining the palms, making sure that they're the correct shape. If you're an artist yourself, you know hands are not the easiest thing to do, whether it's your drawing or your painting, but sculpting, you're adding that 3rd dimension, and it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of refinement. That's a bad joke. But I do the same all over the body. The face especially, I'm paying attention to the cheekbones, the bridge of the nose, and the brows, making sure that the character reads, because the way Patrick designed him, it's a very striking silhouette, and I want to make sure that I have that right. One of my major goals with this project is to be able to see how close I can get my digital sculpt to the original concept. And yes, there's gonna be some discrepancies because when you're drawing, you're not gonna get all the perspectives right or everything like that. But I wanna get it as close as I can because I wanna do this character justice. We're pretty much done with refining. The next stage is the detail stage. This is where I add the fingernails, I add the wrinkles, I make the beard look more like a beard, I make the hair look all flowy and nice, and the smoke trail of his tail all smoky and traily. I make it look good. This was a really hard part because to represent smoke in 3D, it's super tricky, especially when you're trying to copy the shapes that are in the concept. But I think I did a pretty good job. It looks really cool. This is also where I added the details on the accessories. I added some texture on the rings, the belt around his waist. I added the textures, the cracks, the little history, the storytelling that's the part of this character, making sure that he looked as good as possible. Artifacts and accessories are some of the most important part of storytelling in character design, and Patrick did an amazing job with this. If you see the original concept art that Patrick did, the djinn's vessel isn't a lamp like a traditional djinn, it's a pipe, which is super cool. I think that's one of the coolest storytelling devices. I didn't add the pipe, even though I did sculpt it. I decided to just leave the djinn as is. In the future, I might do another one of his djinn characters that has just a traditional lamp. I have some really cool ideas. I get carried away though, so I need to stay focused. Let's focus, you guys, because we're almost done. The last and final step of this process is the final pass. This is where I just make sure everything looks good. And this is where I started adding color too. I wanted to mess around with it a little bit just to breathe a little bit more life into the character. If you've done the rest of the steps right, this stage goes by really quick. It's just the cherry on top. If you watch Ross Draws, it's the color dodge. You just add the juice, you know, make it nice. After a few days of sculpting and a lot of following steps, here is Ignis the Djinn in all of his glory. Here they are side by side, the original concept by Patrick and then my version in 3D. Let me know if I did a good job getting the likeness. I hope this video inspires you to try some projects that you might think are above your skill level. I'm really excited for the next few projects. I have some really cool sculpts, some really cool stories to tell. And if you want to see me struggle through my first character sculpt, check out this video right here. And in the meantime, all the love. I'll see you later.